Hi,
Hi,
Terry.
Jessica.
You look so good.
Thank
I
you.
love the
The,
pixie.
the hair is done. I know you haven't seen the hair done, but the hair is done today.
Oh, how
Uh,
are you?
I'm well. I'm well. I'm well. Thank you so much.
Thank you for doing this today. I do appreciate it.
Oh,
We've had an amazing breast cancer awareness series so far, and you're the finale. The finale.
thank you. I'm truly honored to close out your week with breast cancer awareness. So thank you so much for having me.
No, of course. It's been such a great conversation. We met with Dr. Megan Gupta the first time, and we spoke
Mhm.
about everything when it pertains to like doctors and medicine and science, and just the disconnect between people of color and breast cancer and like the misinformation out there. And then part two, we met with the amazing Jalila Jones, who really gave us her story as a breast cancer survivor, or as she would say, a warrior, which she is, and a beam of bright light, I have to tell you.
Yes.
and, and now we have you, which is amazing because you get to close it out with the full story. So I'm excited for today's conversation.
Awesome, awesome. I'm
So
excited
I
too.
always say I have my questions. I got my little
Okay.
secure card. Awesome. So let's get the audience getting to know you
Okay.
a little bit more. So tell us about your experience as a healthcare administrator.
All right. Well, first of all, guys, thank you. My name is Terri Smith, and I am the founder and CEO of Freshen Up, which is basically an all-natural skincare line for your underarms. And with that, I actually started off my background is in healthcare administration. I've worked there in that realm for about 18 plus years, and what my role basically encompasses is delivering efficient healthcare services to the communities that we do serve. And I've worked from in states from New York to Texas, where I currently live, in departments as ERs. I've worked in private offices, mainly OBGYN offices. So you can see the connection and why I'm passionate about women's health, because I actually spent about a good 8 years working in a private practice there, helping groom and mold their practice. Also on surgical units, cancer wards, case management. So I have seen and worked in various roles, laboratories, and it has helped me able to really get a good I would say, well-rounded picture of what our healthcare system in the United States looks like, and how we can make it better. Because that's basically our role, to help improve the services that we do provide to the greater community. So yeah, that's healthcare administration in a nutshell.
Oh, no, I love that because that means you get to see the bigger picture, right?
Yes, yes.
Oh,
Yes,
I love it.
yeah, moving around in the various department. I mean, the ER is always quite interesting because you see a lot, and that is so fast paced. I mean, so things change really quickly there in that department, but it's also impactful because you just don't know what you're gonna get, and you have to adjust. As Corona, I was there just at the tip of when COVID started. So that was a really great. It was stressful experience, but it was great because we're primed to be able to thrive in that kind of environment when you're working in an ER and making the kind of changes that you have to make. Like I said, because the main goal is to provide phenomenal service and give the people what they need. Because when you come into a hospital, you should not have to worry about the kind of care that you're going to get. So that is
You know
basically
what, Terry? I'm sorry. You're on a roll right now, but I need to put a period in that statement because I've been having this argument about like why do we need to be worried about the care
no,
we get?
no, you
Like,
should not. That
and
is
they wonder why we don't go to doctors.
you should not. You absolutely should not have to worry. And many, I mean, from the nurses to the doctors to the administrators, that is our job, to take that away so you can just come and get the help that you need. You should not have to worry. And unfortunately, there's a host of issues, throughout medical systems, I'm gonna assume out throughout the world, especially for people of color, that we have in the back of our mind when we enter these places, and it really should not have to be. So it's been a long life passion and goal of mine to really improve healthcare systems and make certain practices aware, because I think a lot of it is just unawareness. And so if we bring it to light, and then we are the ones who are at the head, at the forefront of this change, then I think it will just be a better experience for everyone, not just for melanated people.
I agree, 100%. Okay, so then tell me now, how did you even get into the clean beauty space?
Oh my gosh. So clean beauty. And you know what? I'll pause on that word clean beauty, because people get hung up and they almost get taken aback when they hear these terms. Clean beauty, green beauty. I think there's even blue beauty, which is the all about preserving the oceans. I think the main goal is something that I want to stress to people: whatever it is that touches you, to move you in whatever direction. Because we have like veganism. Veganism is a social movement. It's not necessarily like a diet. So if you are passionate about, the oceans and the animals and preserving their home, well, then you will gravitate to it. So I think they just coined these names to help people find their tribe, with nothing absolutely wrong with that. So I always try to encourage people, don't get deterred by the names themselves, because it is a movement and then there's different factors that fall under that movement, because there are people, when they hear clean beauty, they're like, oh my goodness, it's this kind of ravenous cult, we can't do this, you can't do that. But no, look at it as, is this something that resonates with me? Yes, I am passionate about what goes into my body, and that is what you associate with. So I'm just hoping to shed a good light on the terms itself. No, so let me backtrack now. So for me, I would say it started way back when I was little. I was born in Tobago. That's the country, Trinidad and Tobago. And my grandmother, I considered her a master herbalist. I mean, this lady was mixing and concocting all of her life, as far as I know, as long as I know her. And she was actually bedridden. So when I tell you, she was just on that bed, teas, salves, you name it. And for me, growing up around that, because the Caribbean is a lush place. You have the greenery, you have the beaches. I mean, it is just all around us. And I think it's twofold in that culture. It's one, out of necessity, that we cultivate these products from the earth. And then two, it's almost like, if it's not broke, why fix it? Their grandmothers did it, their mothers did it, their grandmothers did it, their great grandmothers did it. This is the way. So it just carries down from generation to generation. And now coming to me, I've always just felt very connected. I've had a special relationship with my grandmother. I spent a lot of time with her growing up, and it just felt comforting. So as I got older and moved into, taking care of myself and purchasing my products, I will be honest, I was making myself, but I was still buying like commercial products. And it wasn't until I had my daughter that all changed. When she came along and she started going into puberty, I was like a crazy label reader, because when I think about it, when you're buying products for, say, babies, you pay attention to what you put on their skin, right? You're like, we can't use this, that is too harsh, we can't use that. So as she got to that point and she needed underarm care, I was like, okay, let me find something natural. Lo and behold, and I thought that green and natural products was, something that would be so easy to find. And it shocked me that I could not find anything for her, so I was just like, okay, well, what is going on here? I mean, like, I read labels, and that's when I realized there's a big difference between natural and naturally inspired. Because it's labeled natural, but if you do not know what you're looking for, that's why I advocate strongly for reading your labels. Some of these ingredients, they'll slip in, say, like aluminum salt inside of there, and it'll have the big natural label on it, you know? So it's
So
almost,
wait,
yeah.
something you said just now, natural inspired. Can you talk about that a little bit more? Because that's something that I'm new to as
So
well.
it's something that I try to show people there's a big difference. And the only way for you to really see that difference is by paying very close attention to the ingredients on the labels, because it's a regulator. It's, well, the natural industry here is regulated, but not regulated at the same time. So the only way I could really explain it is like the organic industry. You have things labeled as organic, but they're still allowed to use certain pesticides on the food, you know, certain chemicals. So it's not completely free of pesticides, which I think a lot of people assume when they go to buy organic products. It's the same thing with natural products. You just naturally assume that it is void of any toxic chemicals, but they're able to slip in under the word fragrance, under it's different host of terms and ingredients. They're able to slip in some of these things that are actually they're not good for your body. So the only way I could tell people is, you don't know, if you really can't sound it out, then you should be paying attention to it. There's a great database, ewg.org. I think it's skin something, but ewg.org, environmental working group. You could literally put in just about any product, and I'm not even talking about personal care product, and it gives a rating of how they think these products are towards your body. So you have like obviously great to really bad, completely avoid those products. So that is a very good resource for people to check out.
Yeah, I'll get that from you after the live, because I want to
Yes.
share that with the community for sure. I think there's a resource where they can go and get
Yes.
clear information.
Yes.
Let's get it out there.
Because that is the only way for you to really know what you're putting on your body, is to read your labels, so you're able to filter through the nonsense. Because let's be honest, it's a big business, you know. So there's some people who are in it to really help and make a difference, and there's some in it to make money. And if you're in it to make money, you're going to cut corners and not necessarily do the things that we are expecting you to do if you're going to promote the natural label.
Okay, so I'm going to jump around a little bit, because this has been a thing in my mind for a while and doing my own research, right?
Okay.
The reality is there any true impact on the ingredients we put in our bodies from our personal care products that can drive breast cancer or any form of illness?
Okay, so I'm going to make a disclaimer here. I am not here to diagnose or
Okay.
I'm just here to explain and explain from the fact that I have seen out here, and also make some very marked correlations. So with that being said, I'll backtrack some, because this is something I always say to my tribe, and I think they're probably sick and tired of hearing me say it. I say this: 3/4 of our lymphatic system drains into our left underarm, right? So that's one thought. The second thought I want people to keep in mind is something that I have recently learned, didn't realize it, is that breast cancer is more common on the left breast than on the right breast. Okay?
Oh, I didn't know that.
All right. That's point 2. Point 3. Our left breast is typically always larger than our right breast. Now, what do we have in common with those 3 things that I just said? Left, left, and left. 3 lefts. So now I'm going to push it back to the scientific, what the facts that we have out here so far. We do not have, in the research world, there is no direct correlation between your not necessarily your deodorant. It's aluminum is the topic that is really focused here, between aluminum and your deodorant. There's no conclusive evidence. That's what they're putting out there. That's what they said. 2 things to consider. Research is only funded by the people who want certain things funded. So you cannot have a whole host of research if they're not funding it. That's number one. You understand? They only fund what is important to them, or what drives their bottom line. So there isn't enough evidence because there isn't enough research. That is in my humble opinion, because we know for a fact from working in healthcare, only certain studies get funded, and very few of them that, when you're like, oh, inconclusive evidence, I'm like, why is this inconclusive? Why is this inconclusive? Oh, because there's not enough research. So it doesn't necessarily mean that there is no link. It's just that they don't have enough data to back up that research. Okay. And then number two, for me, all right, there's not enough research, but those 3 L's left that I just brought up, it is a extremely high coincidence correlation. Our lymphatic system, for those who don't know, is basically our body's sewer system. That's where all our it helps regulate temperature, but a big part of it is to help remove toxins and heavy chemical waste from our body. And if you have 3/4 of it draining into your left underarm, and then with the factual scientific research that breast cancer is more common on the left underarm, there is something there. There has to be something there. And just based on that alone, I know personally for me and for those who I speak with, I do not want to take a chance in them getting it wrong. Just like how they got it wrong with tobacco. For many years, they spoke, oh, nicotine is not an issue. It does not cause lung cancer. For years and years, they put up a big fight. What do we have now? Nicotine causes lung cancers. I do not want to take that risk in them getting it wrong, especially with me knowing what I know. Those are two facts. The drainage happens in our left underarm, and breast cancer is more common in our left breast. And the size of our left breast also indicates that the fact it is doing a lot of work. There's a reason why it is larger than the right breast, because we have a host of lymph nodes on the left side of on our left breast, and that is where all that drainage happens. So we have to pay attention what we're putting below our underarm, because clearly our underarm is not just there for order purposes. It does greater work, and that is my mission, to really help spread that awareness. We should think beyond odor and sweat. We need to really think about what it is, this function, and I think that has been glossed over throughout the years, and that is my mission, to bring awareness to the fact that our underarm is basically, I would say, synonymous with our heart. Yeah.
So then I ask you this though, because I, transparently speaking here, I still use regular deodorants today. I know quite a few people around me who use, clean deodorants. As you know, so one of my friends use your brand actually. And what is your thoughts behind that? Like what should we be thinking about? Because I haven't made that switch over because of the point of the sweating, the odor. I know what works for me. If it's not broken, I'll fix it.
Of course, and there's absolutely no shame in doing what we're accustomed doing. But the only thing that I do advocate for those like yourself who are still using the chemical-based deodorants is to incorporate an underarm detox, or just detoxing your body periodically, because it is very important. Moving that lymphatic system, there's many ways you can do it. You have lymphatic massages, you have acupuncture, you have a technique called cupping, you have rebounding. There is a host of ways we can get our lymphatic system moving, and if you can help it, it would drain. Because think about it this way: if we're not helping the body to remove the underarms, right? This is why it's draining. If we're not helping it to get rid of those toxins that building up there, it's gonna go somewhere else in our body. And the next thing that is in close proximity to our underarms is our breast tissue. And if it doesn't accumulate there, it'll move throughout our body. It's all connected. So oftentimes you may not see something manifested directly in your underarms or even in your breast, but something in your knee or in your foot could be related because it cannot come out. So incorporating a detox regimen into your routine is ideal. I stress that if you're not ready to make that switch, that helps to help you, to help your body along, as I say. So that is something that it's hard. I'm not gonna sit here and sugarcoat making that transition to natural deodorant. It is hard.
Because I was like, I want to switch, but
it is hard. I you know what? There's absolutely. I mean, most of my customers, they start, they stop, and then they go to the natural deodorants, and I think it's a mindset thing. They're expecting it to work just as their conventional deodorants, and natural deodorants do not work the same. So it's a whole mindset shift that has to take place. You have to become comfortable with your body odor. And like I said, there's a difference between odor and the downright funking. You have to
say it again. Downright what?
Funking. There's a difference. People don't realize everyone has a unique body set. And only someone who is with you constantly, say like a partner, they're able to pick up on that set. Because like my husband and myself, I remember when we were transitioning, I was been transitioning, he was transitioning. The poor thing, I think he was driving himself. He's like, oh my gosh, I'm smelling. I'm like, no, that's your normal body smell. He's like, what? I said, that's how you normally smell. You just smell sweaty. You don't smell stinky.
He didn't like how he smelled. That's what it was. He was like,
we're not used to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're used to masking that with a deodorant. Yeah. So now when you think about removing that veil all of a sudden, it's going to drive you crazy for a while until you become comfortable with the fact that, oh, I don't stink. That is just sweat. Till the point that you're thinking other people could smell you, but other people literally cannot. Because it does not smell like a funk, like when someone has like a high odor, so it's a lot to take in, especially from years of programming. This is how we were programmed. Like I said, I grew up in the Caribbean, and the crazy thing about it is my grandmother, my mother, they use natural products, but for some reason when I hit puberty, they went Western and bought me deodorants, and oh my goodness, a host of issues.
Your pH got stronger.
It was ridiculous. I mean, and instead of them going back to natural immediately, switch the products, different products. I mean, men's deodorant. It was embarrassing. And like I said, I knew what I went through. So when it was my daughter's turn, I just could not have her go through that traumatic experience because I know they did not help me. And when you think about a young person, you should be like, well, you don't need that much product to help get your odor under control. It didn't make sense. Mm-hmm. But it makes sense to me now because I'm in this realm, and I know, and I've done the research, and I understand what it is that makes it so more pungent, and
yeah,
a lot of people, it's hard to believe. So, but yes, yeah.
Okay, so tell me this then, because I'm very similar. Like, I am very conscious of what I put in my body, mm-hmm. whether that's food or the products that I apply on my skin. Mm-hmm. I am that ingredient label snob. Like, what does this say? I'm that person. So, and I think more and more people are becoming this way. I think this is why the clean beauty movement is becoming a thing. Yeah. But I'm curious to know from you, like, the science behind clean beauty and how you define it. What does it mean to you? Because I think it has so many definitions.
Yes.
Right. Well, and I think that's the misconception or the misunderstanding that people are having about going natural, clean beauty versus staying with like a chemical, quote unquote, based product. So can we speak a bit about the science? Yeah.
I guess for people, like I mentioned earlier, what drives you? What makes you want to make that change? And whatever that is what it means for you. For me, I use the term green beauty because I correlate it to ingredients from the earth, the trees, the plants, the barks, clays, stuff like that. And I just picture back home and my grandmother mixing. So the word clean doesn't necessarily resonate with me. I attach to it, but it doesn't resonate with me. Green does, because for me, it's all about the ingredients that I put in there. And when people ask, well, we have these chemical-based products and we know they work. And I don't think natural deodorants work because I don't think the ingredients aren't as potent. They are as potent, they just work differently. And we have gotten accustomed to, I say this Amazon way of living where we order it today, we expect it tomorrow. With green and clean and however you want to coin it, it just does not work that way. You have to give the ingredients time. You have to give your body time and grace, because you were doing one thing one way for years upon years upon years. And to put so much pressure under our bodies to make a complete 360 overnight and just adapt to this new way, it is quite unfair. So I think there's a lot of patience that has to go into it, because the ingredients do work. Most people do not realize that every pharmaceutical drug out there mimics a natural one. So if the natural everyone aspirin, look it up. Aspirin. That is the most popular one I always give people. Look it up. Look and see what is the main ingredient of aspirin. Every pharmaceutical drug is made to mimic something natural. They are naturally inspired and have completely taken over the market. So if the natural does not work or is not effective, then that would not be their basis of creation. So I just said that right there.
Okay, so you dropped the gem. Didn't know that. That's new information to me. And I'm a beauty enthusiast, so I'm sure that's news to many people who are watching right now. Okay, so you mentioned about it's in certain ingredients are things we should be looking out for. There's no exact correlation between the ingredients we put in our body to drive breast cancer, cause breast cancer, that we know of, because there's not enough studies out there.
Correct.
To confirm that. But right now, you mentioned aluminum, I believe earlier. But right now, is there any key ingredients that is harmful to our body besides the parabens and the sulfates? We know the top 5. Yeah. But are there any things that can be behind the label that we don't see that we should be mindful of in our products when we are purchasing any skincare, body care products?
Well, one of the big ones, and that is one of them that we don't see, because all we see is the title, which is fragrance. And I know there's a lot of controversy behind the word fragrance, but the issue with fragrance is that it's a lot of proprietary ingredients that goes into there, so they do not have to disclose what is in it. And they use the word fragrance to hide a lot of very harmful, potent chemicals in there. And people have studied like certain fragrances that they would have extracted from different products, and this is how we know of this. We can pinpoint certain ingredients, but they do not have to disclose it. So you can look at it and be like, oh, this is going to smell good, it has the word fragrance, but you have to be very cautious because we do not know what is in there. So I always encourage people to read the label, and if you can avoid certain umbrella terms like fragrances and perfume, then you're making a safer choice. We cannot know for certain everything someone is putting in there, obviously, but by avoiding certain things, I think it helps us keep within the realm of safety, which I think is the main goal if you are reading that label, because we just do not know. Now, the issue with aluminum, which is the big issue, is that it blocks sweat. And aluminum antiperspirant. So antiperspirant is aluminum based. So you have deodorants, and deodorants don't necessarily have aluminum in it. Deodorants are made for odor control. Antiperspirants are made to block sweat. Two different functions. We use them interchangeably, but they're actually very different products, right? So aluminum deodorants were founded in like 1800s, and then come forward antiperspirants. And how it came about, it was this young lady, her dad was a surgeon, and his gloves, they use aluminum salts on his hands so he won't sweat in his gloves. Now, back in the day, they had this thing where ladies, they were using sweat pads below their in their dresses, and if they were sweaty or smelly, they could not attract husbands. So with her dad having this product, she used to
This is a real story.
yeah, no, it's a real story. The name of the antiperspirant that she created from the fact of using the aluminum salts from her dad, because she started using it on her underarms, right? And realized that it was helping with her odor, and it was helping with her sweat, right? So she was like, oh, I can market it to ladies because we can't find husbands if we're sweaty. For men, it was a good thing to be smelly and stinky. That meant you were manly. But for women, it's not so good. So she marketed this thing, and I think the name was Ordono, which is odor. Oh no. That's basically the name of
That was so creative.
I know, I saw it broken, because when I saw the name, I'm like, that's a weird name, until I read an article where they broke it down, and it's actually odor or no. So that was the very, very first antiperspirant, and it is meant to block scent. And would you believe, this is like around 1900. Back then, the Association for American Medicine was saying it is a problem because the aluminum salts in the deodorant causes massive irritations and issues. Back then, 1900s, all right?
And we still use it today.
And we still use it. I mean, it's heavy in toiletries and deodorants. And to know that it has pushed through the centuries until now, where people are like, okay, no, we have to avoid this, because the problem is it blocks our sweat ducts. It clogs it. We cannot do that because, like I said, when we have the lymphatic system draining, if it is blocking, it cannot drain. If it is blocking the sweat, which carries not also, which helps regulate our temperature, but also brings out those toxins, if we're not able to sweat freely, it's gonna back up somewhere. So that is the main issue that we all have with aluminum. It's the fact that it literally plugs the sweat pores. So for those who are still on the fence and are having a hard time making the switch, this is why I advocate strongly for using a detox below your underarm. I mean, you could bentonite clay. Bentonite clay with apple cider vinegar, easy. Bentonite clay with aloe vera gel, super easy. You want a chill night, you whip some up, you put some on your underarm, you put some on your face.
Just wipe it underneath.
And you lay back. Okay, you do
pull it all out.
Yes, you help. We have to help our bodies if we're going to use these products, because that is the issue with the antiperspirants, is because it does contain aluminum, which blocks our sweat glands. And another thing, it has been researched that the aluminum inside of that deodorant itself makes your odor worse. And when I read that, I said, oh, it makes full sense, because I've had personal experience as a child. They kept switching it out, and the odor just kept getting worse and worse. And it's because the chemical disrupts the natural microbiome of our underarms, because it's not that our sweat stinks, it's the bacteria that feeds on the sweat. When it emits a gas, that causes the odor. So we have good bacteria, and we have some really pesky, aggressive ones. And what the aluminum does, it kills off the good bacteria, and it gives rise even the amount of the aggressive bacteria that is sitting in our underarms. So that is how the dependency on the deodorant comes in, because it creates more of these bacteria. So now it's just like, oh my gosh, it's getting worse. I have to use more deodorant. And then it's hard for you to walk away, because then all you're like, this thing is just smelling and smelling. I can't stop using it because it's not going to stop smelling. You understand? So
It's like it's forcing your body to need it.
Yes.
It's like you can't, it's a habit.
Correct. Yes. So we think mentally that is helping. The one thing it does help is stop the sweat. That is for sure. But
it doesn't get rid of the toxins.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So the bottom line is we should be pouring out sweat. Don't be shy. But what about those who don't sweat easily? Like, what do? They just filled up a bunch of, they have toxins all through their bodies.
No,
so how do they
exercise? Some sort of physical activity. And I don't necessarily, I'm not, definitely, no one wants to be pouring out sweat, but you should not be parched. You should not be parched dry below your underarms. You understand?
I glisten. I don't sweat, Terry. I don't sweat. Help me sweat.
Easy. Saunas. Work, like physical activities. I mean, like that. If you don't, then there's some people who naturally just are not sweaty. Like for me, like when I had my hair, before I cut off my hair, oh my goodness, the first place is my hair. I would sweat tremendously in my head, and it would drive me crazy, because then I did not want to work out because it messed up my hairstyle. Who wants that? I don't want my hairstyle messed up, you know. But I knew the importance, and I would always I'll find a way, find the products to help, you know, soak up the excess sweat and stuff like that. But go to saunas. Like I said, the lymphatic massages, those help to move the toxins through the body to the exit points that it needs to get to. Just regular physical activity. 15 minutes, 10 minutes a day. You really don't, I mean, whatever is enough to drum up some sweat within you. And try clay mats, you know, on your underarms. That's a major exit point. Try that. That will help pull it out. So like I said, you don't want to be walking around tripping, sweating, but you don't want to be bone dry either. It's not the best for your body. Yeah.
You mentioned lymphatic health, like I think 2 or 3 times in this conversation. So I'm actually, what is that correlation between lymphatic health and breast cancer? So as I mentioned, the lymphatic system drains out heavy metals and toxins. It also helps to regulate the temperature, which is basically what our sweat does. And we have lymph nodes throughout our body. 3/4 of that lymphatic system is in our left underarm, and we have our left underarm in direct correlation to our left breast, our breast tissue just in general. So when the issue that the holistic health practitioners, the message that they're trying to push out is, we have to be mindful of what we put in our underarms, which is in direct contact with our lymphatic system. Because if we are blocking up our lymphatic system, it can potentially have detrimental effects on our body in the form of diseases like breast cancer. Because of the close proximity, there are lymph nodes throughout our breast tissue that are directly connected to our underarm. You know, so if it is blocked, it has to move and go somewhere. So it may manifest there. So we're saying, do not take that risk. Try and reduce the usage of the products, because our skin is the largest organ in our body, right? And before we leave the house, we probably put on maybe 10, 15 products before we leave the house. So say each product has, I don't know, 15 plus chemicals in it. You do the math, right? 10, 15 products with 15 plus chemicals in it. So when they're like, oh, it's just a small amount, because that's what we hear. Oh, it's just a small amount. It's not going to make a difference. In the Caribbean, we have a saying, drip, drip fills bucket. Drip by drip by drip, it will fill the bucket. That number will accumulate. So you may not see a direct manifestation of that dripping tomorrow or next week or next month.
but throughout the course of our lives that we've been using it, it could manifest into something, into a major issue. And then we have, you know, because I've learned from throughout this whole breast cancer awareness month that there are 30 plus different types of breast cancers. I had no idea. I knew about the estrogen dominant one, right? The hormone disrupt receptive one, and the BRCA gene one, which is the one that is like hereditary. I didn't know there were many different types of breast cancers. So we have to really pay attention.
I didn't know there were 30.
I didn't
Yeah.
know. I have to be honest. I had no idea. I thought there were maybe but 3. To know there's 30, we really have to pay close attention to what we're putting in our underarms, because like I said, it is not just there for it to look pretty. You know, we don't want, you know, people, obviously we don't want hairy or, you know, discolored underarms, and we don't want to sweat, we don't want the odor, but it's beyond that. It does a greater job. It drains a lot of toxins and heavy metals.
So we're almost at time. But before we go, we were speaking about this before, and you were telling me about like the start of Freshen Up, like what, because that's a clean beauty, like a 3-step transition line that pushes you from the chemical-based deodorant to clean-based. And I want to know more about like how that came to be. I know you were telling me you have family who experienced health issues that made you look at things a little bit differently, but I'll let you speak to that yourself.
Okay. So how Freshen Up developed, like I said, I started the line because of my daughter. I could not find anything safe for her. So I initially started with a roll-on deodorant, but she was very active, and I could not find, it wasn't convenient to just take a roll-on to help her freshen up between, you know, she goes from soccer to dance class. So then I developed a wipe. And then after I realized, you know what, this roll-on, because I'm using natural ingredients with very little preservatives, only the amount of preservatives that is needed so that the deodorant itself is safe. So to help not contaminate this natural deodorant any further, I decided the best delivery system would be something that is spray. So it's now a fine mist deodorant, because there's no constant contact. So when we think about like the stick deodorants or the roll-on, we're constantly coming in contact. And a lot of people do not realize that when you're applying your deodorants, this is very key, you should never apply it to unclean skin. That skin should always be clean, because then you're just transferring the bacteria back and forth to the deodorant, to the underarms, back, deodorant, underarm, just back and forth, back and forth. You know, so that was my main reason for developing the spray mechanism. But then she was still having, you know, a lot of, you know, high perspiration. Her body was going through changes, and I was just like, I don't know what else to do. Then the light bulb went off. When I was having my issues, and my grandmother decided we're going to take it back to natural and just ditch these deodorants. I remember her taking me to the beach and constantly rubbing me down with the sand and the clays. And then I realized what she was doing. She was detoxing me. And then that's where the daughter be, the importance of detoxing. You know, she was cleaning me up, helping pull out all those extra chemicals that were just sitting there. And it helps to rebalance you as well. So then I started to incorporate the detox. And we also have a body powder. In the Caribbean, we use a lot of powders. It helps to cool us down. And it's also a form of a gentle deodorant. So we would put it on at night, and we will wake up very fresh in the morning. So all these products, they work in tandem. You can use them separately, they work in tandem. And what I often tell people when you're trying to start off on this natural journey is that the one product may not work for you, because everyone is different. And I realized that through my journey and through the journey with my daughter. We live busy lifestyles, so we should have products that move with us, that's able to move with us throughout the day. So it should be convenient. You should be able to do it discreetly. So that's why we have the wipes. You're able to freshen up as you go. The body powder, it's in a spray form. It's not the typical dusting canister where you could just and go your way, so it should just be able to move with you throughout life. And that is how I developed that line. And then when I also have paternal aunts who are all breast cancer warriors. I have 4. And throughout their journey, I started to realize how my products could help them, because one of them actually, she had to have a mastectomy done. That is where the breast is removed, and apparently there's a lot of buildup of sweat and it's uncomfortable. So I use my body powder on her prosthetic, and she used to put the body powder in there, and it would help to naturally remove that sweat, because we don't want to be sweaty, but we don't want to block the sweat from coming through, because that sweat was probably releasing extra toxins that was building up there. But you still want to be comfortable. So the powder allowed her to still be comfortable and let the body do what it needs to be done, so it just requires a little bit more work when you're adapting to the natural deodorants. So think about what you might need throughout your day. You might need to reapply more than once, but it's okay. Why? Because we know we're making a safer choice, a healthier choice for our bodies. So you may have to put in a little bit more work, but the benefits outweigh that. So that's what I usually encourage and put forward to people when they're thinking about going natural. It may require a little bit more work, but those benefits outweigh the work 10 times.
Oh, well, listen, you just wrapped that up and tied a bow on it. Really quickly. So I mean, those are all the questions that I have for you. I think we covered a lot. I walked away with a few different things today. Like, what? Didn't know that. Yeah. So it was really helpful, and I think this is actually perfect timing, because as I mentioned earlier, our last 2 sessions were so in depth. It was a personal experience. You had a doctor's perspective, and kind of closing it out from your perspective of just like looking at ingredients and how we should be thinking about it, and shifting and or not shifting, but how to detox your body to ensure that those unwanted ingredients are not living within you. I think that needs to be something we discuss more of, because it's true. Some people just won't change their lifestyle, overnight. No. But how do you start remedying those toxins and getting it out of your body?
Yeah, yes, it is extremely difficult, and there's no judgment ever when you're trying to make the change, because like I said, most of my customers, they start, they stop, they start, they stop. But it's the fact that you're trying to make that move in that direction. And there are tools out there to help you. There's so much information that's out there to help you. And the more we move through life with knowing that we do not want to compromise our health for beauty, I think it's the right direction anyway, no matter if you take a couple steps backwards to move forward.
Oh, brilliant. Awesome. Well, on that note, I think we can call it a wrap.
All right. Okay.
Thank you so much. I feel like it was a perfect closing to our series. This was really informative, and I people in the comments were saying the same thing as well right now, so that's always a good thing. So we will close out the night here, the series here, and it was so lovely speaking to you, Terri. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you for having me.
You guys can follow the Freshen Up page on Instagram as well.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Bye, Terri.
Bye. Bye.